Nothing but allow young people, those young people who you talk about, yes. Those young people who you don't want around, yes. Those young people you kicked off your block, yes. We're going to have them in conversations. They're going to talk about what is it that they need from you. And you're going to listen to them. And if you don't, let's see what happens then. We're going to take it higher and higher each time. If you don't want to listen to us now, let's see if you listen to us when Congress takes D.C. Because it's going far. And we need to start now. So we're going to have a task force of young people coming together. Then following that, we're going to have our round tables coming together. And we need every community organization there. Then we're going to be tapping into these community organizations to see how can young people begin to help you. Because obviously some of them don't know what they're doing. So how can we be included to see how can we enhance your organization? How can we be better? What can we do to expand? So we need your assistance and we need your help. We need the continued media presence. We need to be seen and shown that we are here. We're standing, we're active. But do you hear us? And not only are you hearing us, but are you listening to us? So at this time, we're going to open up the floor for anyone who have questions, comments, or concerns. And after that, we're going to have Councilmember Robert White. He's going to come up and give brief remarks on what is next and what his office may be willing to do. Any remarks he may have.
So I see government represented, I see the media represented, but where is the church? So you talked about not having a place to go. It used to be that you could go into a church any day of the week and get help. So where are the church leaders to have that conversation with you? All of you spoke from a place of pain. And while we hear your pain, we don't know what to do with it. So we need your help. So when you do your 40-day task force, I am asking that you help us help you. And because it's more than we're tired of hearing you tell us how it was when you came up. That's the only frame of reference we have. Our grandparents did it to us. I had to walk 6 miles to school. What you complaining about? You have legitimate complaints. I never saw a dead body on the way to school. I'm sure there are young people that have. How do we handle that trauma and continue that conversation?
Thank you for that question. I really appreciate it. And it starts, honestly, with conversations like this. Showing up when we ask you to be there. Not showing up with the intention of there being social media or for this to be your next play. Let's just say if you're a politician or elected official, for this to be your next big social media post saying that you care about the youth. No. Showing up in the space that we ask you so that we're actually like you're listening to us. There are so many brilliant young people out there with tons of ideas. I remember when I was at DCPS, they had the DCPS Genius Grant that was $500 given out to youth to be able to start their own business, their own passion project. I got started through that program. I started my own nonprofit through that program. So going to places where we're asking you to come to meet with us so that we can give you ideas on the things that we need in the city, it starts with conversations like this. We cannot keep having these conversations and not going anywhere. If you are an elected official in the city, if you are a community representative in this city, if you are a parent, if you are a stakeholder living here in Washington, D.C., and you do not show up to these events, but you're here right now or you're watching this on your television and you're not doing anything, you contribute to the problem going on in the city. We are tired of having to keep repeating ourselves saying that we want help, that we need help. So show up to these conversations. We want to talk to you. We want to give you our ideas.
Same comments.
Appreciate the invite to the press conference. So as far as, I actually have two questions, if y'all don't mind indulging me. My first question is, as far as the 40-day, the meetings that happen weekly, who else will it involve? Are you thinking about involving the youth that may have been involved in the system as far as arrest and all of that? And my second question is, I was just curious as to know, like, your current thoughts around the laws. If I heard correctly, it sounds like y'all feel like the city's too lenient on youth that are committing crime. So I just wanted to hear more about that part, if y'all don't mind.
So, I'm gonna let this be known. I'm not from DC. I'm from North Carolina, from a farm, and I moved here like a couple years ago. But for the laws, I say like for my 6 years of living in DC, what I've seen the youth do is just a slap on the wrist. It's nothing actually too serious. Like, oh, you may get the box put on you, the ankle monitor put on you, or you may get put in like a group home or something like that. But it's nothing like, oh yeah, I learned my lesson. Like, oh, like no juvie, not like really serious. I'm like, so you do something. So let's say I get armed robbery. At this point, you're not gonna get a serious consequence because after all I've seen, it's just, oh, all right, look, you're just gonna go to juvenile detention for like what, 2 weeks. After that, we trust that you became a whole new person. When the whole time that's not the truth. You just don't really care about if the youth really fully rehabilitated themselves. That's why it's lacking. Very bad.
And to add on that, well, I'm gonna answer your first question first. With the youth task force, we're gonna have youth who are here as well, but we're also gonna target who are actually sounds. But we're not promoting it whatsoever, but we're targeting those who are affected the most. And so based upon that, we're going to have them in the room, but we're also going to have ANC commissioners. But, yeah, and then to answer your second question as far as the laws, to piggyback on what Javante said, DC is definitely lenient. Held accountable to the utmost because we are too lenient. You see people who are committing crimes. Then at the end of the day, they get out the next, not even week, the next day. They have an ankle monitor there, and that ankle monitor affects them in school as well. Right? So I do believe that we hold them accountable to where they get arrested. But how are we teaching them what they did wrong? If we're all they're doing is just sitting in jail, sitting back, reflecting on what they did, they're not getting no change. Can we get to a point, and this is the point of my solution that we're going to speak of, can we get to a point to where arrest, not only having them incarcerated for a season, but also giving them opportunities that can possibly divert them? Because oftentimes we just gave away Job Corps. So they don't have that training that they could possibly go to now. Can we get that training that they need in that facility, in that juvenile detention center, and possibly have them come out and give them the opportunity that they need? Because a lot of these young people are doing what they do because they're trying to survive. We're surviving, not living. We're trying to live day by day to see our future. So that's what I'll get to that. We're going to go, I'm going to get to you. We're going to go media first. Other media questions. Yeah, before your media.
Trevor Johnson, Washington Informer. Trevor Johnson with the Washington Informer. Just appreciate you passing out here. It takes a lot of courage. Just a quick question: what your opinion is on the cell phone ban in these schools? Any thoughts on that?
Speaking to that, I have a little brother about to transfer into Pittsburgh. I went to Bethesda where, as you heard probably I think a week ago, it was some sort of issue in one of the bathrooms where a student had an overdose or something like that. It was a lot going on in my school, and I've been to enough schools around the city to tell you every school in D.C., every child in D.C., they need their phone in these schools. Because no matter what, understanding that it may be a distraction to their education, the teachers, the staff, the psychiatrists,
psychiatrists, the socio, whatever they are, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And at the end of the day, these kids aren't safe in the school or out the school. Some of them aren't even safe at home. So they need their phones. They need to be in communication with their parents, their legal guardian, because at the end of the day, these kids are getting harmed more at school than anywhere, getting harmed in the streets when they're coming home. So these kids might have to leave their phones at home because they can't bring it into the building, or they bring it into the building, and I've heard of students having their phones or their pieces of that technology broken, stolen, or whatever. They need their phones inside these schools, because without their phone, how are they going to be able to speak up for themselves? If the school gets shut down, I remember I was at Cardozo when the school got shut down because it was students that was not supposed to be in there with guns trying to come after one of my peers. What are you going to do when you need to contact your mom and say, hey, this is what's going on? Because they're not going to tell the news immediately. The parent not going to know until 2 days later, because DCPS don't send out the newsletters and send out no information. So they need their phones. And I'm going to say that, and I'm going to let everybody else talk.
I agree with everything she said. I feel as though, although it might be, I think phones can be really resourceful, whether it's safety or education in general. Safety also matters, not just the adults, but the teens. Actually, it goes to Cardozo. There's been a lot of instances, whether it's, it's just a shut down because there's kids that are in the building. It's against restrictions. How are you going to get in contact with somebody when you're the one in danger? Not if your peer's in danger, but when you're in danger. What if there's an issue at home? You have nowhere to go, and your phone is the only resort to find somewhere else. What if? Just what if? Electronics, not just at school, but at home. Your phone is your only source. That's
Thank you for that. I really appreciate what y'all said. Keeping cell phones accessible to kids in school. I can speak from my experience from the high school that I came from. We often faced days where there was just fights back to back to back to back to back. I remember most of my peers, we would often call those days World War III brawls. For straight up weeks, we're just brawling all the time at lunch. It was an unsafe environment. In most cases, when students need their phones, while yes, some of them are on TikTok, social media, doing things they aren't supposed to, in other cases, these cellular devices can be used as safety measures for kids. I'm tired of hearing the argument where people say that, well, they don't have their phones, but they could just use a cell phone or the phone that's in the classroom. We need these cellular devices because it helps build connections outside of school. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to explain it in terms of outside of safety, but you can even use cell phones as let me retell my brain thought. Okay, so you can use cell phones in this case as resources during school. The school that I went to was not a one-to-one technology school. Not every child at school had access to a laptop. So in most cases, teachers had to rely on for their lessons and projects in order for them to use their phones. So when I say that we should keep phones in school, I believe that they can be regulated to an extent. We do need those devices because we live in a time where cell phones are just a popular thing now. It's very hard to just remove that completely. It's now a part of our lives. It's all about adjusting to that.
I'm on the Chancellor's advisory team, and we talk about different problems that we want to solve. I like to say, we've been on the same problem about the phones for 3 different months, and it's the point where there's other different problems around that are much bigger than the actual phones. Students fighting students, things getting missing, property getting damaged, and it's like they're stuck on the phone. I'm gonna be honest, we're not in 19 anymore. This is not in 19. The phones, actual need and a want. They lose all sense of being. They live on their phone, so they don't know. And it's depending on dumbest thing to ever happen.
Okay. Ask me a question, then I'm gonna get to you.
Hi, thank you. I'll stand over here. I'm Lauren Lumpkin. I'm from the Washington Post. I'm wondering, you all talk kind of like about what you would want to see in your communities outside the school building, but I'm wondering if you can talk more about what you want to see change inside of schools. Like, what can make schools more welcoming places, better places where you'll actually want to, be during the day?
Honestly, I'll say, oh, I like the mic now. I'll definitely say I can speak from my experience. Honestly, being around in the school building, it really teachers at the end of the day. I have built so many genuine connections with a lot of my teachers that I will go back to school just to visit them, because even outside the classroom, they still helped created that space for me that made me feel safe in most cases. Other times, you have staff and teachers that don't create those spaces for you. Because I remember so many countless times where you would have staff, speaking from my experience, y'all, hear me out, staff that would cause the problems in school, feed into the negative environment that a lot of schools in this city are facing. This is not just the issue that had happened at my high school. This is an issue that happens at not just high school, middle schools, elementary schools, all across the country, because it really brings down at the end of the day, who do we have that are mentoring our kids? Who do we have that are teaching our kids to individuals that want to be leaders here in our community? It really comes down to who you spend with every day. Mindful kids are supposed to be realistically in school more than they are at home. Huge role in what happens in the child's life, because if they go into a school environment where they feel as if teachers don't care about them, as if teachers don't respect them, and staffs are picking on them, they're not going to want to be in those spaces, and it leads to problems outside the school. It leads to problems outside of home. So that's where we start.
I'm back. Okay, to add on what she said, the egging on, the brutality, at the end of the day, guys, hurt people hurt people. Y'all have to understand that. Hurt people are going to hurt people. Whether it's a life situation at home or education, it all starts with more support. Although in the roots it starts at home, it's also with your teachers and your peers and counselors. Schools need to enforce more counselors. At the end of the day, students, we're just kids. Some adults don't understand kids have feelings. And no shade to any adults, but some adults aren't just ready to understand that. Kids' feelings are valid. Everybody's feelings matter. Don't invalidate anybody's feelings. So at the end of the day, more support in student counseling, more extra support in education, and just I don't know what to say. That's really it. That's it.
All right, thank you. You're good. Yep.
Hello, thank you. My name is Kareem. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. So I find this whole conversation to be very intriguing because I'm from the birthplace of black capitalism and I guess you could say slavery too. So, I have a very well insight on a lot of questions you guys ask because I've experienced it. I'm 29 years old. I've been in the military, I've been in prison, and now I'm a software engineer. So I completely understand what the plight is of black people because what hasn't been mentioned is the fact that we don't have fathers. The black men aren't being mentioned here. The black men like myself that was a kid like y'all 10 years ago that got thrown in prison. When I was 2 weeks from deploying to United States Marines, I was 0231 United States Marine Corps intelligence specialist. My brother now serves in the Air Force. My other cousin, he passed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And my other cousin, Devon, he's a drill instructor over there in Fort Lee, Petersburg. So we all first generation military. I'm the only one that ended up going to prison. But all the friends I grew up with are doing well. But I do have a great perspective of all the questions I asked. And I see an issue too is we have questions being asked by the media, but they're paid by people to ask certain questions. Then you have the middle-aged people that aren't quite my age that, understand the issues, but they don't understand our issues because they didn't grow up in our era. Then you have the people in my generation, like all of us. I'm like 29, so I'm a millennial, but still surviving, you know. And I really feel like it's a political issue. Really, personally, I say we've been dealing with the same policies for the past how long? The same representatives for how long? And nothing has changed. So maybe you should try different representatives and policies. That's all I'm gonna say. Because we've been going Democrat, or whatever. But black people, personally, I think we need to have independent ideology when it comes to political systems instead of thinking that the federal government cares about you just because you're here in D.C. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you so much. And even to go back to your point of the black father aspect, grew up in a single-parent household, mother, young man, seeing what's going on in the world without a father, without, of course I have a father, but, not present, but seeing that, having a mother who was able to raise me, guide me, lead me, teach me, show me everything, that's what cultivated me into what I am today. Move fly. That's what cultivated me into what I am today. It was nothing but my mother. She continued to nurture me, pour into me. And the funny thing is, the difference between me and a lot of the young people out here is that I had a mother who was willing to shield me from so much to where now I'm able to say, hey, I see why. I didn't understand at first why, I couldn't go certain places, didn't understand why I couldn't do certain things. But now I do, and it's because look at what's happening. And a lot of our young people don't have that guide to where they're able to know, hey, right from wrong, what's good and bad. They don't know, they're not guided the correct way. And we have a lot of young people who want to be guided, but we don't have enough leaders who are willing to step up and begin to take the role of a guide. And so with that, especially with our young black men, you have our young black men portraying the images, but we also have to get to a point where we stop calling them YNs and stop portraying them as this image. So if we get to a point where we say, hey, we have these young men, they in ski masks, of course, we have these young men in ski masks, we have these young men doing these things, and with that, we always continue to talk down on them rather than pulling them up and saying, hey, you're better than where you are and you can do much more greater things. I understand you're dealing with this situation, but you are still worthy and you are still gifted and you are still valued and talented of anything you want to do. A lot of these young people, they pour so much energy, time, and thought into robbing a car, doing these things. How about we motivate them to do something more better with their life? But guess what? The leaders don't want to do that because guess what? They're scared of the young people not knowing what they want to do. But if you so much in that position of scared, why are you doing your job? Why are you in that position? I'm looking at you because I don't want to look at nobody else, okay? So that's true, and you can do that through the power of your vote. So with that being said, our question?
Hi, everyone. I'm so grateful that you all were out here. It really stopped me because I have a 15-year-old, so I was like, wow, I hear your pain because she talks about it a lot at home. I just wanted to ask two things. What organizations do you all represent, or do you all want to shout out some that we can show up more as parents to fill the rooms to hear what you all are saying, to invite more youth? And then the second thing, for those who are in political office, are you all following the guns? I don't know why, because it just seems so ironic that these children know exactly how to break into cars. I'm like, who is putting these guns in their hands? Who is training them to do these things? If they're, it just seems like there are adults that are putting them up to this because they know that these children will get a slap on the wrist and be out pretty soon. So I'm just like, how are we looking at this in a different way? So those are my two questions.
I'll let you.
The organization that I would like to shout out that's helped guide my mind to how it is now